The Crafty Cockney Way. Featuring Eric Bristow. His top 10 tips. And exclusive interviews and highlights.
Well, as you say, I know most of the top players in the game, and every so often I think any game, any sport brings one player to the top. If you look through any sport, there's always one player like this. And in darts, Eric is the number one.
Goes again.
I think for a fact that he is a very, very unique person, a very unique sportsman. He has got so much of determination, which I think which is the main part of being a good sportsman. Doesn't give up. He's cocky, but he's good. Very good.
Yeah! Up he goes like a rocket. Lowe gives the grin of the vanquished. There's the winner, Eric Bristow. The championship holder last year makes history. He's won the Embassy twice, and he's done it on the trot. Absolutely superb.
I think Eric Bristow has definitely showed himself to be one of a kind. He's done it all, and I think a lot of players look up to him for that reason and probably would like to follow him.
In my opinion, Eric Bristow's #1 player in the world. I think that's due to his just desire to win.
Eric, you require 8.
This could be it. 4-4. 2-2. 1-1.
Yes!
I think it's dedication, obviously, and obviously having the right people around him. I mean, his father and mother, I mean, they pushed him along, and he took the right track, and he's always been there. And he's still one of those guys that if he can't win this year, he'll win it next year.
Bristow leads, 16.
Thank you.
Usually seen in every pub, picked up easily. As Lowe, 140. Almost like an athlete coming into the stadium, a lap behind. As Bristow looks at one dot for the match 16. In the end, the scoreline looks like an avalanche. Bristow 6 sets, John Lowe 2. But Lowe had his moments, he fought. Bristow world champion for the 4th time. Takes the Embassy, takes the applause.
Every now and again there's someone born that has just that little thing that they need. And you can be a brilliant dart player in this game and never reach Eric's standard or whatever, because you've got to have that little bit here that somebody else doesn't have.
Moving in, 8-8, 3 darts to go. 4-4. 2-2. Yes, it's there! Wickett played well, but it was brilliant Bristow, showing his world dominance. It was something to cherish for the Crafty Cockney fans. There he goes, his 3rd consecutive world title.
Eric's been my worst enemy for a lot of years, but I still admire the man. I think he's got dedication, more so than anybody else. And as far as I go, if I don't be #1 next year, I hope Eric gets it back, because he's the best.
Double 16 to go ahead. Yes, that's the first hit. Eric Bristow. Hope he doesn't do that at Buckingham Palace when he goes for the go.
Eric Bristow is certainly the best. Having won his first major title at the tender age of 19, he has never looked back. rewriting the record book every year since. Eric's cunning style and tremendous ability have made him a legend in the sport of darts.
Hi, I'm Eric Bristow, and to me playing darts is as natural as breathing. It's automatic. I just use the style I've been accustomed to and away I go. On the other hand, if you haven't developed a particular style or possibly picked up some bad habits along the way, you're going to need some coaching to get you on track. So that's why I made this video, and I hope you enjoy it.
The video is separated into 10 tips or chapters. Think of it as a reference book. Take it one section at a time, and when you feel the need, stop the tape and go back and review it. Tip number 1 begins with an introduction to the game. Here Eric will help you get started by discussing the various elements of a dart and the proper setup procedure for the board and the hockey. In tips number 2, 3, and 4, we use a new slow motion device to best illustrate the 3 fundamentals of the game: grip, stance, and throw. Here, Eric will analyze other players as they display the basic fundamentals of the game using the standard style. He also tells us how his form was developed from the basics and some helpful hints to be aware of. Tips 5 and 6 will discuss the 2 most popular games in darts. Eric's favorite, the traditional British game of 501, and the more recent and somewhat controversial game of American cricket. Tip 7 is on practicing. Here, Eric will explain some helpful exercises that can be both fun and productive, along with some tips on tournament preparation as well. Tip 8 will focus on the mental game. As this is one of the Crafty Cockney's favorite areas, his tips will give you valuable insights on how to control your mental state and maintain peak performance. Tip 9 will inform you of Eric's do's and don'ts, which will help you develop into a respected competitor right away. Finally, Tip 10 is Eric's blueprint for success on your way up the darts ladder. The emphasis here is on dedication, commitment, and above all, remembering to have fun along the way. Tip number 1, equipment.
Popularity is the fact that it's quite an inexpensive sport. I mean, if you take what a set of darts costs to say what a set of golf clubs cost. And obviously it's such a small space, you can play the game in such a small space, and I think that really comes down to a lot of it. And obviously the socialising of it. A lot of people go out to a bar and have a drink and whatever, and they can pick up a set of darts and enjoy themselves. And, you know, throughout the whole world now is grown.
Well, darts sure have come a long way from the days of wooden shafts and feathered flights. But one thing still remains, and that is that your equipment is essential to your overall performance. Be sure, when you're choosing your darts, to get what feels comfortable to you. I use a 22-gram nickel tungsten dart with a metal shaft. If you're just starting out, I suggest a less expensive, light, brass dart to help you determine the proper weight and barrel best suited to your own personal preference. Now let's take a closer look at the elements of the dart, the board and the hockey. The first thing you'll notice about a dart is its flight. Today they are made mostly of polyester and come in various shapes and sizes. They detach from the dart to allow for maximum accuracy and avoid unwanted deflections. The shaft's function is to hold the flight the correct distance from the barrel. The correct shaft length can help the dart enter the board at the appropriate angle. The wrong length can cause unwanted blockouts. The barrels of darts range from brass, nickel and tungsten. The much denser tungsten used by today's professionals and avoid unwanted deflections. The shaft's function is to hold the flight the correct distance from the barrel. The correct shaft length can help the dart enter the board at the appropriate angle. The wrong length can cause unwanted blockouts. The barrels of darts range from brass, nickel and tungsten. The much denser tungsten used by today's professionals weigh the same as brass but are much slimmer because of their density. This leaves you more target space at which to aim. The board is hung 5'8" from the floor to the centre of the bullseye, with the 20 at the top. The board consists of a sequence of numbers, with the higher numbers flanked by the lower ones. Each sector has a triple and a double ring, with of course the outer and inner ball in the middle. Finally, the area from which you throw is called the oche and is located 7'9¼ from the base of the board.
Review. Always maintain your equipment to ensure peak performance. Begin with an inexpensive brass dart to help you determine your own preference. Adjust your dart shaft length should your throw's trajectory become inconsistent. Remember to always use the proper setup procedure on the board and the oche. Tip number 2, the grip.
Well, as you can see, grips vary greatly, but there are two basics which remain the same: comfort and balance. They are the keys to a successful grip and are essential in almost all sports, especially those which require a delicate touch. You've got to grip the dart in a comfortable manner. And at the same time, you've got to be firmly balanced to get the best results. Now let's have a closer look. To grip a dart properly, lay it across the palm of your natural throwing hand. Balance it in your fingers to find the centre of gravity. Sort of pretend you're trying to guess the dart's weight. Next, grip the dart with your thumb and first two fingers just behind the centre of gravity, in a fashion much like you would hold a pencil or a pen. That's the basic grip, and it's from here that individual variations will begin to be determined. Personally, I like to have my third finger touching the tip of the dart, with my little finger extended. It's just my personal style that I've developed and found to be the best for me. Once you've developed your own style, it will become second nature and you'll be able to concentrate on other elements of the game.
Tip number 3, the stance.
Once again, comfort and balance are key, but having a proper stance will help you become a better player right away. So pay attention. First, find the centre of the oche right in front of the ball. If you're throwing with your right hand, place your right foot against the oche, pointing in the direction you're aiming, and the opposite if you throw with your left hand. Now get balanced. You want your throwing shoulder forward, leaning towards the target as far as your balance will allow. Your other foot is behind, angled at about 45 degrees to provide stability. Your centre of gravity should be just behind your right foot. But remember, too much lean forward and your back foot will be waving in the air, which doesn't do much for accuracy. I prefer my foot flat against the oche. This way I'm closer to the board. But if you don't feel comfortable this way, try the standard style. Also, Don't be shy about moving up and down the hockey if your target has been blocked by a previous shot. This was frowned upon in the old days, but if you see me play, you'll know I make full use of the hockey to get the best angle on every shot. Now that we've covered grip and stance, we're ready to throw.
Tip number 4, the throw.
OK, the darts do have to stick in the ball, but you don't have to throw it with the force of a javelin. Try to get ready for your throw with a relaxed, comfortable stance. Firm, but not tense grip, and concentration on your target. Let's have a closer look. Your throw should begin by sighting the target with your right or most forward eye. Bring the dart back towards you at eye level. All the movement should come from the arm while the rest of your body remains stationary. Your forearm provides the arm movement. Your elbow should automatically come up as you release the dart. You should release the dart just before your elbow straightens, giving you a well-balanced position at the time of release. Once you've developed your throwing technique, you've got to then develop consistency to achieve success. By becoming more familiar with the ball, you will naturally begin throwing your darts in a quicker rhythm. Rhythm is essential to remain consistent and competitive. I know fundamentals aren't very exciting, but they are the groundwork for developing into a good darter. So let's review the 3 points on grip, stance and throw.
Review. Begin by gripping the dart in a comfortable manner. Your stance should begin by pointing your right foot forward in the direction you're aiming if throwing with your right hand. Your other foot balances you as you lean towards the target. Always bring the dart back towards you at eye level. You should have a well-balanced stance at the time of release. Tip number 5, 501, the game.
Tops. Yes, that's a second leg. Eric Bristow!
I've earned my reputation from a game called 501. It's the game in the world of professional darts, and the standard in Great Britain from the youth leagues right the way up to the World Cup.
The rules are simple when playing any 01 game. You start from a preset number, in this case 501. Then begin working your way down with the highest combinations possible until you can double out to 0 exactly.
It sounds simple enough. In fact, just about anyone can learn to throw a good dart. But being able to calculate instantly and knowing your options is imperative to becoming a winner. And that's the part of the game that separates the contenders from the pretenders. So let's have a look at this most fascinating game of 501. When I initially began playing the game, I learned more from scoring rather than playing. How could that be, you say? Well, it's really quite simple. By scoring, I began to develop a better understanding of the game, by observing other players and their different strategies. This would later prove invaluable when I began to play competitively. There are many finishing combinations, the highest being 170, 2 treble 20s and the ball. But be aware, some are more risky than others, depending on the game situation. The important thing is to always remember is to try and leave yourself an option if you should miss the target. My favourite is double 16. That's because the way the number breaks down. If you miss the double and hit single 16 by mistake, then you can finish with double 8, which also happens to be beside double 16. That will help you keep your rhythm. If you now hit single 8, you can close with double 4. 4 then breaks down to 2, and 2 to double 1. The second thing to remember is to always be aware of the score. If you're at 131, you know that a treble 20, treble 13 and a double 16 will do you nicely. But what if your opponent is over 2 or 300? There's no sense gambling or making the perfect sequence of shots. Think to use 6 darts to close out, trying to stick with high percentage shots. Steady progress is preferable to taking wild chances, especially if you don't have to. Thirdly, be aware of your alternatives. Sometimes you'll have a marked shot at the triple 20. Check your options, such as triple 18 or 19, if you know you'll need at least another 3 more darts. It's a better play than trying to jam another dart into a crowded area.
The BBC broadcast the Embassy World Darts Championships to a TV audience of 6 million plus. It is the Super Bowl of darts, which Eric has won an unprecedented 5 times. In 1989, Eric and his arch rival Jockey Wilson played in one of the most memorable championships to date. Here are some highlights from that final.
Double 4 to level the legs. Double 2. Madhouse. Double 1. And you've got to give it to these two. Humour that you'd find in the top room. Double 10. Ooh, double 5. Showing the excitement and tension. Jockey is now 1 leg away from the title.
Jockey required 156.
For the world title, the shot is on. It's another 60. Oh, he's taking his time.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
A nod. He wants double 18.
120. Eric required 130.
To save the match.
Thank you.
To save a cracking match. He won 60 in the bull. He's got to get the bull, I think. And he's got it! Whoa! And still the spirit sensational. Sportsmanship, even with all his tension, prestige, and cash at stake. Absolute wonderful applause for 2 great stars.
Jockey required 20.
Double 10 to take the title. Double 10. Yes! Jockey Wilson! Champion of the world in 1982 does it! But what an amazing comeback by Bristow. He was 5 sets to love down. Unbelievable. What a match. What a brilliant darts match.
Review. Begin learning the game by scoring. Know your finishing combinations. Always be aware of the score. Remember, steady progress is always preferable to taking wild chances. And check your options to ensure you make full use of the board. Tip number 6, American cricket.
I used to play it in Australia. It was a game that we used to play in the Air Force because a lot of people didn't like to count. They used to call it Mickey Mouse there, so I presumed that it was originated in North America. But it's played a lot in California, where I'm from, because it's played a lot in the bars that are along the beaches. People don't like to be messed around with when they have to multiply, subtract, add, think about numbers, and learn the game of darts as we know it, the English game. So they play cricket.
The game has a built-in strategy, and the strategy can be debated by the players and debated by the spectators. And that's pure American. When you can sit there and debate how somebody should do something in sports, you're talking about big spectator potential.
Cricket in America foxes me, I must admit. I like the 501 and so forth, but I've been outfoxed by many Americans playing that game, and I don't think I'd let to put any dollars down on that particular game here against one of the top Americans.
Well, as my mate Cliff says, we Brits are a little bit foxed by the game cricket. While having other names such as Mickey Mouse or Tactics, it is now being played professionally in major North American tournaments. As a result, we've had some catching up to do. Let's begin by looking at the rules.
Cricket is played using the numbers 20 through 15 and the bull. The objective is to own or close those numbers by scoring 3 of each, which can be done by 3 singles, a single and a double, or a triple. Once a player owns a number, he may then score points until their opponent also closes that number. The player to close all the numbers first and have an equal or higher score than their opponent shall be declared the winner.
While the rules are simple enough, the strategies and opinions of the game vary greatly. So here are some tips to always be aware of. Get ahead, stay ahead. Never get caught building up on one number while your opponent closes out everything else. Play with your strengths. If you close 20s and then you feel better about 18s over 19s, then do it. On the other hand, if you're great at closing everything else but the balls, then you better pick up some insurance points along the way. Finally, there are many ways to become a cricket strategist, but you've got to be a good dart player first. Skill will dictate your ability to take advantage of a situation and become a great cricket champion.
As the game is unique in its various strategies, we felt it best to show you an example of an actual game situation. Here, Dan begins by closing 20s and scoring 20 points as well. Rod then decides to counter by attempting to close 19s. He hits only 2, which leaves Dan the opportunity to close them first. Dan is successful in closing the 19s and increases his lead further by scoring 19 points as well. As we pick up the game later, we see Rod is still trying to close the remaining open numbers, hoping to catch Dan on points. Dan, satisfied with his short lead, decides to keep closing numbers rather than build up on points. Here, he hits 3 16s, allowing Rod only 15s and the bull to score points on. At this point, Rod decides to close bowls. He scores 3, allowing him to score points from now on, unless Dan can also close bowls. Dan decides to close 15s, a higher percentage shot and also an area to easily increase his lead on points. As we now review the score, Dan is open to score points on 20s, 16s, and 15s, while Rod is only able to score points on bulls. But remember, an inner bull shot is worth 50 points. Now, as we pick up the game later, we see both players have chosen to go after points. Here, Rod has closed 20s and only needs a triple 15 and a 16 to win the game. On the other hand, Dan needs to regain the lead and go for the bulls to ensure his success. Dan does get the lead back with a triple 16 and 2 singles. It is now up to Rod to score heavy on the bulls to hold off Dan's challenge. He hits only 1, leaving Dan with a slim lead. Dan decides to go for the win by trying to close bulls. He misses on his first 2 shots and goes for some insurance points on the 16s, but misses here as well. With those 3 misses, Rod is poised for the win, but he does need a perfect sequence of shots to do so. He needs a single 16 and a triple 15 to close all his numbers. But then he also needs a bull to score points, as you must have a higher score than your opponent and close all your numbers to win. Rod begins by scoring the bull, then the single 16 and the triple 15 to win the match. Review. Close the numbers that favor your strengths. Never get caught building up on one number. Get insurance points to protect a lead. And as your skill level improves, your strategy will become more effective. Tip number 7, practicing.
If I had any advice to any young players, or in my case, old players, it would be maybe 3 things. Practice, practice, practice.
Having the ability to throw that final double to close out the game and win it all takes only those 3 things mentioned. Practice, practice, and more practice. Sounds simple enough, but in order to get the most out of your practice sessions, you must follow a proper format of exercises. Remember, strong preparation will have you ready to meet any challenge. So let's have a look at some exercises you can use to stay sharp. For starters, around the clock is a good practice exercise. This involves working your way around the board in order, 1 through 20. By keeping track of the number of darts thrown, you can challenge yourself at your next session. This exercise will help you become more familiar with the board and improve your accuracy as well. Now that you know the board, the next thing to do is to practice finishing. Start out by finishing out from 41 and working up. Give yourself a preset time period and see how high you can reach. Again, keep track of that number and challenge yourself next time. Once you've been able to master these exercises, you're probably ready for tournament play. Well, maybe not everyone, but for those who are, there are 3 different practices you can use when preparing for a tournament. First, practice scoring high, the treble 20s, 19s, balls, etc. Second, use the finishing exercise just described. Third, practice against the best opponents you can find in precisely the type of format the tournament is using.
Review. Use other games to improve your accuracy and your knowledge of the board. Practice your finishing combinations. Keep your practicing fun and productive by measuring your progress. When preparing for a tournament, play in the format described against the best opponents you can find. Tip number 8, the mental game.
I think it was best of 9, and we were 4-4, and I had to throw, and I left Eric standing, and I had 6 darts at a double, and just before I threw the last 3, Eric went over the trophy. He'd won it 2 years previous, and he went over the trophy and he kissed the trophy, and I still had 3 darts in my hand going for the double, and I went up and I was so determined to hit that double, and I think the hands went, stomach went, and everything went at that time, and I missed. And that guy stepped up there and hit that double.
It's been said that some sports are 90% mental and 10% skill. Well, I'm sure people would argue that fact. But I've seen a lot of good players never reach their potential because of nerves. This is probably due to the fact that each of us concentrates differently. This in itself may make you vulnerable to different types of distractions which can greatly affect your game. But the most difficult distraction to control is that of your mental state. Here are some tips on how to control your concentration and maintain your peak performance. Avoid overgrip. As tension builds up in any game situation, the body tends to tense up into a state of readiness, which can be extremely detrimental to your game. When your throwing arm or shoulder feels tense, try deliberately tightening these muscles more. Hold them for 5 to 10 seconds, then let them go. Repeat this 2 or 3 times. Stay in the present. Darters focusing on the past, a miss, a bad break, or worrying about the future, can make themselves tense. Control your pace. Take control of each game situation. Do not become intimidated into rushing or throwing your rhythm off. Slow yourself down. Walk slow between turns. Take more time to get yourself set at a line before throwing. Project an air of confidence. Then throw with authority. Play the board. You may be surprised to learn that the touring pro is beatable. He has good days as well as bad. It's difficult to fight your preconceived notions of his invincibility, but help yourself in advance by telling yourself, I have everything to win and nothing to lose. I believe every darter has a success mechanism built in, but you have to make the adrenaline work for you. Create a feeling of controlled intensity. Some nervousness is both natural and helpful to your own performance. Learn to use your butterflies as a sign that you're ready and as a reminder to stay loose.
Review. Never become intimidated into rushing or throwing your rhythm off. Forget the past and stay focused on the present. Avoid overgrip by purposely tensing your muscles. And play the board to avoid being thrown off by a tough competitor's reputation. Tip number 9, common courtesies.
Well, obviously, don't drink, don't smoke, don't go with loose spurs, and enjoy yourself.
Well, apart from jockey's unwritten rules, there are a few other common courtesies in darts which I'll show you. When retrieving your darts, walk up the side of the throwing area to let your opponent set up their next throw. Always stand behind the person who's throwing, not alongside or in front of the jockey. Never talk to your opponent or make unnecessary sounds that might disturb him. If you are a spectator cheering on a player, wait until they have completed their throw to do so. By following these simple guidelines, you'll become a respected challenger and a better all-round competitor.
Review. Remember to retrieve your darts promptly, allowing your opponent time to set up their next throw. Always stand behind your opponent while they are throwing to avoid distracting them. And if you're a spectator, remember to remain quiet while players are throwing. Tip number 10, achieving success.
So you want to be just as successful and competitive as I am? Well, there's no reason why you can't be. Let's take a look at some of the steps you have to follow on your way up the ladder. First, start by setting realistic goals for yourself. If you're a beginner, then try to consistently get out in 501 with 30 darts or less. Then get involved with your local darts association to find a place where you can compete. Here, it's not the money that's important, but rather the prestige and the recognition to get for winning. A real stepping stone for moving up the darts ladder. So now that you've found a place to play, you're probably wondering what the next steps are for achieving success. They're actually quite simple. Let me leave you with several principles of play. Find a comfortable stance, grip and throwing method, and stick with them. Practice, practice, practice. It won't make you perfect, but you'll get better. Be a finisher. The ability to count and outthink your opponents makes no one master. Use other games for variety and as practice methods to improve your play. Challenge yourself. Look to attain your highest level by searching out tougher opponents. And remember, keep the game fun, have a good attitude and enjoy yourself. So until the next time, good luck and good shooting.
And 60 in the bull. He's got to get the bull, I think. And he's got it! Whoa! And still the spirit sensation. There's the winner, Eric Bristow, the championship.
Bristow showing his world dominance. It was
Takes the embassy, takes the applause.
One really comes to mind. It's when Eric had first come over here and I was first starting to play darts. So I figured, although he was hailed the wonder boy, he was still just one of the boys, you know. So we happened to be at San Jose, and Eric had lost in the singles and I had lost in the singles. And this little kid walked past me and I said, "Would you like 2 Coke tickets?" And he said, "Well, yeah." And I said, "Okay, I'll tell you what I want you to do. I want you to get this piece of paper, and you see the guy over there, big tall guy." I said, "I want you to ask him for his autograph." He said, "Yeah, okay, I can do that." And I said, "Now, when he gives it to you," I said, "you turn around and look at it and say, 'Oh, I thought you were Andy Green,' and then rip it up." So I gave him the 2 Coke tickets, and he walked over, and he asked Eric, and he said, "Could I have your autograph?" And Eric, being the typical Brit that he is, which they get autographs asked for over there all the time, you know, he said, "Oh, sure." Big smile, and signed it. And the kid turned around and said, "I thought you were Andy Green." And went, rip, rip, rip. And Eric, I mean, went bright red, and all he could do was look for me.